What up, guys? Your boy Quake, and J. Cole has released a surprise EP/mixtape on his website, thefalloff.com. On there, the mixtape is available for purchase, but the catch is you get to choose the price that you want to pay for this tape. It can be $1, it can be $100 million, whatever you feel like paying. The only issue with it is when I tried to go on there and pay my dollar, because I was only going to pay for $1 for this. I'm a cheapskate. When I was going to pay my dollar, the website didn't even work. So the mixtape has been uploaded all over on every platform from YouTube to whatever streaming that you can think of. So it's up to you if you want to pay that $1 or whatever amount you want to pay for J. Cole. Either way, the tape is out, and it features 4 freestyles over classic hip-hop beats, from Biggie's Victory to Who Shot Ya to a few other ones. And the tape has this like old school mixtape feel with DJ Clue all over it, Who Kid as well. And if you look at the tape cover, it looks like a classic, like late 90s to early 2000s mixtape. But on this tape, he is addressing quite a few people, and not really directly, but you can tell who these bars are going at, or at least you can, for the most part, speculate. And I'm going to break down each and every freestyle and each bar that I think is going at someone, because there's been a lot of talk, of course, with J. Cole bowing out to the whole Drake and Kendrick battle back in April 2024. People have called them out saying, I don't want to hear those aggressive bars about you being the best because of that. Even Fat Joe recently said that. Charlemagne addressed it. So that talk has been brought up again, which to J. Cole, apparently it fuels him even more to prove that he's the best. So let's go over the first track. The first track is titled The Bronx Zoo Freestyle over the Victory instrumental. So immediately within the first few bars, J. Cole addresses who I think is Fat Joe and Charlemagne. Basically any rapper or entertainer who has a podcast, who does a lot more talking than rapping. Besides Charlemagne, obviously he wasn't a rapper, but Fat Joe and Jadakiss have their podcast, and Fat Joe, blatantly said, hey, I don't look at J. Cole the same. I don't respect him the same.
Do we look at him the same, being that they screwed his head off the big three?
You hear his bars, all of that don't matter.
It's over.
He's coming crazy.
Cause let me tell you something, man. They screwed his head off the big three. Is he in the big three?
I don't like that terminology, so give me a pass. But they better screw his back on after you.
Listen, let me tell you something. The Locks, no matter what you call it, in your biggest heyday, no matter what,
right.
You
it's all about the music. You going off the internet.
I'm not going off the internet. I'm talking.
Head ports got to go back on where
I'm talking about hip hop, right? So what I'm saying to you is, you guys were miniature compared to 50 Cent just sold 30 million records. You went at him. You went to the yard with the sword.
You're answering your own question.
What's that?
He could sell 100 million. The bars and the power of the people in the street made all of that shit irrelevant.
He didn't come outside to Jada.
It's all in the music. You talk about knocking him out the park and this and that and that and this.
I gotta hear it.
He got some.
So here are the bars where I think he's addressing Fat Joe. He says, somewhere along the way, I hate to say we lost shame. Grown men peddling gossip of all things. I remember when it was rapping and ball playing. Now the bread and butter is yapping and parlaying. So on this, a lot of streamers, a lot of people who voice their opinions, the big ones at least, they are like pushing these insane gambling websites, and you can see it all over the place. I'm not going to mention them, but yeah, they do all these, gambling, parlaying, and putting all these bets on things and pretending like they're making a lot of money, whatever. So that's that. And then he's talking about grown men gossiping, which, instead of rapping, what he says in the bar, I remember when it was rapping and balling. I think he's addressing Fat Joe, because he was at one point a rapper. Now he's on the podcast basically talking about other people and whatever he might say, making up fabricated stories like the whole Young Buck situation, so on and so forth. But continuing on, J. Cole says, oh man, your name is a big conversation. Max deals for Luka Doncic lobbing to Ayton. No, nowadays you can make a grip commentating. If you master 2 skills, either riding or hating, just look around. The hating and is blatant. Tell your mama your ticket to finally live out of her basement was found in one magical word. It's engagement. So he's basically saying a lot of people just go out there and talk smack just to get clicks and retweets and posts and whatever, to try to make whatever money that they can make. And I agree, it's run rampant to a certain point where you can tell certain people are just saying things just so they can get clicks. And then what's interesting is as the bars go on, he basically brags about being the best again, which is the thing that people were saying, I don't want to hear from him because he bowed out of the battle. So he says throughout like a lot of bars, he says, it's hard to write as the God does. Y'all toddlers to me, stop bothering me. Young Simba, some guys threw some hate my way. Only thing they should say is, Cole, you like a father to me. The top, and this is where he addresses the big three and says, the top ain't really what I thought it would be. And so I jumped off and landed back at the bottom and restarted at a level where I wasn't regarded as much, just to climb past them again and tell them all to keep up. I love it. So here, he's saying, listen, you guys might have kicked me out from the top, but I climbed right back up, and now I'm going to be zooming past these guys again. Basically saying there's no competition, which is the whole big three argument. And, him bowing out is where, a lot of people were like, he's not part of that argument anymore. And then he addresses the apology directly, and he says, look, hey, matter of fact, go on your phone, add me on IG. I used to be top C. The apology dropped me way out of the top 3. No problem. I'm probably my best when they doubt me. And he says, watch me. So right there, he's saying, listen, you guys can say I ain't that guy, but hey, we'll see when I drop this album if I'm really that guy or not. So that's the first freestyle. He addressed the apology. He addressed, I think, Fat Joe, and he addressed a lot of commentators, hip-hop content creators like myself, or, just people who have, voiced their opinion, who have huge platforms. He just basically said a lot of these people are just saying this stuff for engagement, and that's all. They're not really doing anything. They're not contributing anything. So he addressed streamers, hip-hop commentators, Fat Joe, and the apology. The second track is titled Golden Goose Freestyle. It is a freestyle over the Black Rob Can I Live instrumental. And what's interesting about this track is there are some lines where I think he's addressing Drake. And the reason why I'm saying I think he's addressing Drake is because there was some tension between J. Cole and Drake because of J. Cole bowing out of the battle. And that made Drake look at J. Cole a little bit sideways. And even on Family Matters, he said, Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me. He's basically saying, listen, like, this guy is stressed over a battle, but I could care less. I want to go at it. So I think he took J. Cole bowing out not really the best way. And I don't think they're even cool with each other anymore. I think after that, they haven't really, there's nothing that they've been, kicking it anymore. They haven't done anything together in a while. Let's go over this track. And these are the bars where I think he's addressing Drake, because Drake is known for this mainly. So this is what J. Cole says. Nah, I'm on top. You can't knock me off my spot. F yachts. I won't stop till the boat's a cruise ship, till the whole world knows who's got the gold acoustics. Only then will I split like I co-produced it. A lot of rappers make dough, then prone to lose it. For crumbs, dumb guys sold their soul to Lucian. Universal distribution, but I own the music. Now, who do we know to have a huge deal with Lucian, a.k.a. Universal Music Group? Who is the guy who signed a major $400 million deal and has bragged about it on every single song? It's Drake. So this could be directed at Drake, saying this guy sold his soul and is basically a slave for Universal, because a lot of people speculate that the reason why Drake tours a lot and drops so much music is because he has to recoup them that money that they give him. And basically, that's like being a slave, essentially. It's a really rich slave, $400 million slave, which I wouldn't mind being. But, there's artists that get into those deals where they have to consistently tour, consistently drop music because they got to recoup, the label's money. And when you think about it, Drake has dropped essentially every single year to a certain extent, Now, this could also be bars about just rappers doing dumb deals and getting caught in 360 deals. That also could be that. So it could be Drake, it could be that, but I think it's more towards Drake because of the way things ended with the whole apology thing, and I think Drake took that, the wrong way. And a lot of people have looked at his deals as like slave deals. But yeah, that's my take on it. And then later on, he addresses artists who fake their numbers through bots and streaming. And this is something that could really be applied to a lot of artists who boost their numbers. He says, from poison of all different sorts they using. If the streams say you winning, why your tours is losing? When the math ain't mathin', of course you're juicing. That means the bots is boosting. So he's basically saying, listen, you got all these crazy streaming numbers, but when you try to do tours, nobody shows up. And that's a great indicator if somebody is boosting. Because if somebody's doing like 100 million streams, or 500 million streams or 1 billion on a song, and their tours are barely bringing in 2,000 to 3,000 people. Something's going on where things are getting boosted in streams, which is sad. In today's time, it's really hard to tell who's actually pushing the right numbers. And then he continues and addresses more people talking bad about him for basically apologizing. He says, despite every bit of dirt thrown my way, there'll never be a stain on my name. It's why I walk around dolly as if none's changed. Without a chain on my frame, guys could never know the pain of Jermaine. And that's it for that track. The next track is called Winter Storm Freestyle, and this is over the Who Shotcha instrumental. And on this track, he doesn't, in my eyes, diss anybody or address anything. He just spits some crazy bars, so check that out. And the last track is titled 99 Build Freestyle, and it samples the Money, Power, Respect track by The Lox. On this last track, J. Cole addresses a few things, the fake streaming once again, and then he says something on the track that is interesting. He says, if real hip-hop lyricism is back, JID should be selling, because JID is a very lyrical rapper, and the narrative that lyrical hip-hop is back, and that's the focus after the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle, and people are saying after Kendrick won, the focus was more on real hip-hop music, and he's saying, listen, if that's the case, then that should be it. So let's go over some of these bars. He says this, these guys swear they're doing numbers, but it's just more to the story. You bust it down, it's by the streams and kids ordering merch. He's basically saying, listen, these guys don't really do numbers. They always package their merch or vinyls with them to try to sell, these records. And a lot of, artists have been accused of that and caught of doing that. Going down, he says this, I stayed at myself. I ain't talkative. Y'all taught me not to have a heart-to-heart with a monster. They're all too heartless. Like the skeletons in these fellas locked in the closet. I smelt it from the jump because it felt too awkward around it. I fell back, my dog in heaven pushing Hellcats. Will tell you from the beginning, I wonder how could I dodge it. The beef ain't real, so ain't no reason to squash it. The game ain't neither, so it's easy for me to pause it. Now, in these bars, I think, and this is this is just my theory on this, is that he is addressing, the Drake and Kendrick battle, and that they're pulling basically skeletons out their closets of this person's this person's that, and the whole back and forth of what Kendrick was and what Drake was, and the accusations made back and forth. I think he looked at that and was like, I don't want to be involved in these guys having these, accusations and trying to pull skeletons out of each other's closets. And then on top of that, he said the beef with these guys, with at least my issues with these guys is not really real. So there's no reason to squash it. It's not that serious. And then he says the game, hip hop ain't even a real, place. So it's easy for him to just get away from it because there's a bunch of fake people in it. And then in these lines, he addresses the state of hip hop and the rap game in general. Rays from the flows radiate the globe, melting snow on this frozen tundra. Known as the rap game that's been overcome with loads of marketing plans based on randomly dissing and hating on the next man. I understand. Imagine working hard as you can on this album you planned, hoping it changes your brand, but as soon as you drop it, the world's ignoring again. Got you wondering why till you start noticing the trend. Drama enhances the attention brought to the fans on popular channels, so you want to hop on the band wagon of battle rapping and throwing shots in a jam. I had my chance, but I dropped it, which means my only option is to do the opposite thing, which is leave with the skull. So he's saying, listen, these artists, and he addressed this on, I think, Middleman. He says, if I diss somebody, it's going to be legit. It's not going to be for click. It's not going to be, I'm just paraphrasing, but he says that in Middleman, that he's always, if he's battling somebody, it's not just for the clout. It's legitimately they have an issue or they're battling each other. So on here, he's saying basically these artists call out names and try to start battles to try to get some type of attention for their album that's struggling, which has always been part of the game. I think if you make great music and you do that, it's a different story because you can still generate interest even without battling. But there's some people that just can't generate no interest, so they start battling. And there's a few I can name off the top of my head right now. And this is where J. Cole addresses the whole hip-hop, pure hip-hop is back. He says, if hip-hop is back, JID should chart platinum. Anything less than that, it means y'all capping. The fall off is dropping 2.6, stop asking. So in here, he kind of does like two cool things. He plugs his own artist, JID, and says, hey, if real rap is back, he's a lyrical real rapper. You guys should be making him platinum. He should be selling 1 million copies, no problem. And then he kind of throws himself in there and says, listen, this is real rap. Y'all go cop this if you guys actually like real rap. Because the theory, like I said earlier, is that, at least the narrative after Kendrick won this Drake battle, in the public's eyes, at least that's what most people say, Kendrick won. That real rap is back. We're focusing on bars, and that's it. We're tired of these melodies and people not really, making any interesting bars or not really rapping. And he's saying, if that's the case, okay, well then all these rappers should be selling records. And I agree. I think at that point, if you're really loving real rap like that, purchase those real rappers that rap. But yeah, after that, he basically says, hey, I like, certain parts of what's going on. He says, all these old rappers getting bags, podcasts, and it's beautiful, which is kind of contradictory to what he said in the beginning, which I think he's actually going at Fat Joe. But there's a lot of rappers podcasting and making money. There's Nori, there's T.I. to a certain extent. There's quite a few, they've done podcasts that are doing well. So it's not just Fat Joe and Jadakiss. But Jadakiss on their podcast at least shows love to J. Cole. But yeah, that's it for this mixtape. It's 4 freestyles. Very dope, man. I think he killed every single track. I mean, J. Cole, to a certain extent, I consider him, I have him in my top 5 of all time to sometimes where he just doesn't drop as frequently. That's one thing I don't like is the consistency in music isn't there. And then he's had, and I'm going to actually rank his albums on the podcast. He's had albums where I'm just like, damn, like it's so far off from what he does. He has like great albums and even a classic in my eyes, but then he has like albums that are just kind of all over the place. And I'm like, what are you doing? But that's at least my take. I think J. Cole is one of the best doing it. I think he's going to prove with this album he is one of the best, if not the best, possibly ever. Because he is rapping like he is at a next level with this stuff. I mean, it's just straight bars, and it's scathing, and it's fire. I just hope he directly goes to some people, man. I would really like that because it's like a lot of people have been talking about, oh, he bowed out. He's not really that. He's not really about that. Like, I would like him to address people directly about that. I think that would be really, really interesting. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think of my takes on these bars. Let me know what you guys think of these J. Cole tracks and what you're expecting from the Fall Off album. That's it for today's video. If you guys want to support this channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diverse mentality. For just $3 a month, you can get my videos uncut and raw the way I intended them to be, but couldn't because of YouTube. Plus, you also get access to our Discord community where we have a great community talking about hip hop and various other things. It's very dope. So only $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the support. Also follow us on social media at QuakeGW and at Diverse Mentality. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.